to the show. And we've actually got a really interesting topic with Keith English from Keith English Real Estate and Associates. Can't forget the associates bit, or else Barb will be ringing me up and saying, you forgot about me. Oh, but Keith, real estate, I mean, it is a hot topic at the moment. We're in Australia, obviously, for our overseas listeners, but the properties have gone up, they've gone down, they're 1 minute apartments are the flavour of the month, and then there's houses. But at the core of it, the one thing I find myself that is stable is the agent. That tends to be like you either can trust your agent or you can't. And no matter what the market's doing, choosing a good agent has got to be number one.
Yeah, I think it's the most important thing to choose, because most of the time selling your house or your property is the most valuable asset that you have. So why put that in the hands of someone who isn't an expert, or you don't feel that you do trust in that relationship?
I will say one thing, and look, I'm not an expert obviously in this field, I'm not a real estate agent, but I was listening to some experts out of the States, and they were saying you choose your agent before you start even thinking about who's going to give you the best price.
Yeah, well, to me it's a partnership. So if an agent comes in and they're trying to dictate all the terms, they're selling your property, so they're actually a servant to you. You're paying them, and they need to work with you in a partnership to sell your property.
When an agent comes in, and you've had lots of years of experience with this, and not just in real estate, I think that gives you a bit of an edge. That's why I think I like talking to you about real estate, because you've actually owned different businesses, you've been employed in fairly senior management roles in fairly large corporations. You've got this kind of holistic view and a realistic view of the world, if that was something I can say there. When you yourself, and you've sold properties, what do you think defines or gives the quality of a really good real estate agent?
I think it's trust, and funny enough, the reason why I got into real estate because I was struggling to find the agent that I wanted to have. And so even before I got into real estate, I was actually selling my own properties because it was something I was good at doing. But to find a good agent is someone who you trust and have faith in. So faith in that they're going to give you correct feedback, faith that they're going to be able to communicate with your buyers effectively, and I think most importantly is someone that the buyers are going to trust, because if the buyers trust them, then they will disclose a lot of information and some of their objections, and if you can't get the objections out of your buyers, then you can't overcome those objections. So, and then that trust comes back to me to say, okay, this is the genuine feedback that I'm getting.
It was interesting you say that, and a little bit off topic, I was talking to John Hughes, he's a major car dealer here in Perth, and he was saying the same thing. If the buyer doesn't trust you, they won't tell you what their concerns are. And he gave an example, something really simplistic. They were in the car, and he just couldn't work out what the problem was. They seemed to like the car. In the end, he said, look, just tell me what it is. If I can fix it, I can fix it. He said, well, we had a look at the spare tyre and it wasn't that good. And he's gone, I could have lost a sale. But because they trusted him, and he's a well-known car dealer here in Perth, so he's got a lot of trust. And I guess it's the same. You could be losing a buyer because of lack of trust. And it could be just minor things.
Well, sales training 101 is love your objections, because every objection brings you closer to a sale. So if you don't know and don't find out what the objections are, I mean, I've had people who haven't wanted to buy a house because they didn't like the kitchen bench top. They love the rest of the house, but to find a solution then, that's easy. We can get costings and pricings of replacing the bench tops, and that only might be $2,000 or $3,000, and we can work that out in the deal.
And I think that's one thing that comes through with your agency, is that you're more of a solutions-based agency. You're solutions-based for your client who you're representing to sell the house. But what I like is you're also solutions-based for the buyer. That must work really well for synergy.
Yeah, I think of more of myself as a facilitator. So not as a salesperson, but as someone who, there's two sides of the equation. If we can bring them together, we get a deal. If we can't bring them together, then there's no deal. So, so if you can create solutions, and sometimes that can be something completely left field. And that makes the difference, in being able to close the deal.
Yeah. One thing I did like with talking to you, and we were talking really, so we talked a little bit off air, and your attitude to it, and you're saying, well, people selling want to move on to the next chapter of their life, and you're saying this is a great thrill to help people do that.
Yeah, it's, especially if it's their family home, that family home means so much to them, and often it's about letting go of that and treating that with respect. So selling the house is a very emotional decision, as is buying a house.
I was going to say it works on both sides of the coin there. And do you think because you couldn't find an agent at the time, so you end up selling your own, it gives you and the people who work with you a bit of a skill level of more, rather than sales skills, but more empathy skills, being empathetic in both sides?
Yeah, empathy, but also we also do need to remember that we are employed by the seller.
Right.
And so it's our duty to get the best possible result for the seller.
Mm-hmm.
And the best possible result is to obviously get the sale at the right price and the right conditions.
Yes.
And sometimes those conditions are more important than the actual price, so depending on the person's circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, I was reflecting when you were just saying that. I remember one of my friends wanted to sell his house and he was building, but he didn't want to move into a rental. It was just going to cause a... Yeah. And the agent was fantastic. Yeah. He actually brought a buyer that didn't want to move in for 6 months, and they got... And you're saying the condition was more important than the price. And they took a little bit off the price as if it was paying rent. But he said it just saved all the pain.
Yeah, so it's I always talk with the sellers and go, what is your perfect scenario? Okay, and if we can create that, then that's ideal.
Right.
I've had literally people ring me on a Monday and say, if I don't get an offer on the table on this property by Wednesday, I go bankrupt.
Wow.
Okay, so it then becomes not about the price, it's about getting the property sold.
Yes.
So then there's certain people you can call, they might be bottom dwellers, that are there ready with cash to pick up a bargain. Now, that's fire selling, but it solves my client's problem. Okay.
And I think that's the thing, isn't it? It is solving the problem so they can move on to the next chapter of their life. Yeah. When, as an agent, and I think you made a very good point there, you do work for the seller.
Yes.
So when I engage you, you're actually working on my behalf. It must be a challenge sometimes then for an agent, because you're obviously paid on commission.
Yes.
So when you're talking with an agent, is this one of the telltale signs when an agent starts to ask you, okay, what's your perfect scenario? These are types of questions you should be hearing from your agent rather than just what do you want to get for it?
Well, a lot of agents will come in and tell you what you might want to hear. And everyone wants to hear, I'll sell it quickly and I'll sell it for the highest price. And your property's worth $1 million.
In a house of 500,000.
Yeah. And we had this just recently where we appraised a property for $950. That's what all the sales evidence says. Another agent walked in and told them they get them 1.3 to 1.4.
Wow.
Okay. Now there's no evidence. Okay. So buyers have access to this evidence, so most buyers are pretty well educated these days. Yeah. So there's a lot of information out there. So the only difference is the agent. Okay. So if I can get in there and actually work with the buyers and negotiate and push them up in price, okay, so that's my job in negotiations. But if I'm telling someone, and there are a lot of agents out there who will, what we call buy the listing, they will say it's worth much more than it actually is. And then from about week 2, 3, all they're doing is trying to drop the price.
Yeah.
Okay. So they've got the listing, they've locked up their their seller for 3-6 months, depending on the contracts, and then they just start to try and reduce the price.
Wow. We'll take a quick break and we'll come back with more great information with Keith. He's from Keith English and Associates, great real estate agents, and some great advice for homeowners. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.